Events at letstalksuccess.org presents International Body Design with Dr. Fitness.
All right, Stephen. So now, very, very interesting. You're talking about these institutions right before the...
Right. A reverse psychology would be it teaches people how to be more responsible for their actions. Because people go for therapy, and we're not knocking therapy, but it depends what therapy you go to.
Okay.
I prefer cognitive, which is a little painful, but shows you a way of making a choice and taking action. Other therapies can take years, but you still are going to be left with the same problem when you finish. Because it takes a strong person, it takes creative risk to put it into action. So a reverse thinking would be, if I'm going to make my mark in the world to be a better person, then I need to have a game plan.
That's very, very true. Now, it's amazing as you use the phrase reverse thinking because, our affirmation, Let's Talk Success, is at the core of it. It's all about people really becoming master reframers in terms of how they perceive and communicate ideas. Now it originated from the long trended biblical. That was the Proverbs 18:21 that stated, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." And we recognize that as people opening their oral cavity and communicating with other people, their thought energy is coming out in words and phrases, right? And based upon what we've been taught certain types of words mean, right? Either that communication is going to be regenerative or degenerative. Or it would just be flat information that really doesn't, motivate you to either do one thing or the other. It's just information for information's sake. So therefore, we are proponents of, assisting people in becoming, those master reframers. So therefore, the type of communication always is coming forth in a very, very positive, progressive, regenerative way. And this is, of course, leap years beyond what most people know as PMA.
Absolutely. So the phrase would continue, then I need a game plan.
Okay, got it.
But of course I can't afford it. But on the other hand, I spend money on dinners, extracurricular activities, trips, which ultimately leads me back to myself.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
So it has. So when did this condition happen to my body? It happened maybe when I was 5 years old. You see, the person is actually taking responsibility for their actions, so they're coming to the conclusion that in order that they've had some emotional issues, and they need to take a risk, because they can either fail one more time or be successful.
That's correct.
But the fact is, if you talk to a man, it had nothing really to do with money. It has to do with something that happened traumatically to the person, low self-esteem. Right. And stayed with them all these years.
Yeah, well, that's of course a major issue that needs to be addressed, even I believe, a little bit more introspection. Okay,
absolutely.
Because first of all, I am staunch on the idea that if people are not making the progress they'd like to make and are capable of making, it is simply because their goals are not clearly defined. And it is also my posture that real self-esteem is actually really born out of people becoming confident that they can do a certain thing and know that they can do a certain thing, and they're confident about it, and then that's what graduates to self-esteem. Now, the self-esteem that I see predominantly in my walk of life, I look at it as artificial self-esteem, because then people are gaining this confidence based upon external factors, whether it be their automobile, their home, or, their girlfriend, or their boyfriend, or something like that, versus them, just having the true core understanding that I know, if nothing else, I could do this. Okay, so therefore, even as they're coming in contact with other people, then of course they don't feel insecure around other people, because they know confidently they can do something regardless of what that other person can do. And then therefore, once again, people can, interact with one another, as I understand it, on even keel.
Excellent. I'll give an example. Let's say a man comes in to see me and he says, well, okay, I put the figures together and I'm going to give it to the accountant and see what we can do. This is my instructions to him.
Okay, all right, I got it.
When you see the accountant, you say, this is the amount of money I need, and make it work. I want him to use his male power, because if he does it the other way, what will ensue was he's going to be transferring his power to the accountant.
Okay.
You see, I spent a lot of time building him up and getting into who he is and what his potential could be.
Right.
And what would happen is if he introduces a third party without telling them the authoritative way, and not authoritative way, that person will be contradictory to where I've already gotten him. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense.
If the person comes back and says we can't afford it, it's impossible, that's another situation. That's something a man can work with because he's a problem solver.
Well, absolutely. I think we all are in our own way, and money has never really truly been a problem. It has only been a symptom of a problem. And of course, depending upon how people are motivated, they can actually garner the necessary capital. Just like when things break down in people, environments that they think they need, for refrigerators, cars, this, or medical something, this or that, or whatever have you. If the capital was not available, but they don't say I can't afford it, they in their mind automatically goes to how can I get it. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to thank you for appearing on another segment of Let's Talk Success.